Hi friends! Today we will learn more about the types of pronouns. So let's start. We have already learned that there are 10 types of pronouns, and we have learned many types of pronouns out of them. Today we will learn what are relative pronouns. Relative pronouns. Relative pronouns are used to relate various parts of the sentence to each other. A phrase to a clause to a clause, a noun or subject to a clause, etc. These are some of the relative pronouns: who, whom, whose, which, that. They are same as the interrogative, indefinite, or possessive pronouns, but they have a different role to play in a sentence. Let's understand with the help of an example. Who is singing on the stage? Here, the pronoun who is an interrogative pronoun as it's being used for asking a question. The girl who is singing on the stage is my sister. Here, the pronoun who is a relative pronoun as it relates the phrase the girl to the clause is singing on the stage. That is why who is a relative pronoun in this sentence, and the clause beginning with the relative pronoun is called a relative clause. Who is the man in the white shirt? In this sentence, the pronoun who is an interrogative pronoun as it is being used to ask a question. The man who is wearing a white shirt is my teacher. In this sentence, the pronoun who is a relative pronoun as it is being used to relate the phrase the man to the clause is wearing a white shirt. Here, the clause who is wearing a white shirt is a relative clause as it begins with a relative pronoun, who. Now let's learn some more about relative clauses. Relative clauses can be of two types: restrictive relative clauses or defining relative clauses, non-restrictive relative clauses or non-defining relative clauses. The restrictive relative clauses are important for the sentence to make sense. The sentence won't make meaning without them. And in the case of non-restrictive relative clauses, they are not important for the sentence to make sense. They add additional information to the sentence or tell more about the sentence. In other words, the sentence remains meaningful if we remove the non-restrictive relative clause. Now let's see various examples of relative pronouns and relative clauses. This room is reminding him of the class that he used to study in. Here we have a clause that he used to study in, and it begins with the relative pronoun that. Now, whether it's a restrictive relative clause or a non-restrictive relative clause, in order to find that, remove the relative clause and see if the sentence still makes sense. It reminded him of the class. But which class? We don't get to know anything about it. So the sentence is left incomplete without the relative clause. So the clause that he used to study in is a restrictive relative clause. In case of restrictive relative clauses, there is no commas are there. Andrew, whom we met yesterday, is my best friend. Here, the clause whom we met yesterday is a non-restrictive relative clause as it starts with a relative pronoun, whom, and it has commas to separate clauses from each other. It means that the sentence will still make sense without it. Andrew is my best friend. Yes, the sentence makes sense even without the non-restrictive relative clause, and this is why we have used commas to separate the clauses. The car, which was a taxi, smashed into a wall. Here, the clause, which was a taxi, is a non-restrictive relative clause, as it begins with a relative pronoun, which, and the sentence will remain meaningful if we remove this relative clause. The car smashed into a wall, as it's a non-restrictive relative clause, so commas are used. And remember, no commas are used if it's a restrictive relative clause. My sister, whose phone you just heard, is a banker. Here, the pronoun whose is used to refer to the subject, my sister. And the relative clause, whose phone you just heard, is a non-restrictive clause, as it is giving extra information about the subject and sentence will remain meaningful without this clause. My sister is a banker. So, now we know that relative pronouns are those pronouns that relate different parts of a sentence, they work like conjunctions in a sentence, and relative clauses begin with a relative pronoun. We also learned that relative clauses can be of two types: restrictive relative clauses and non-restrictive relative clauses. Restrictive relative clauses cannot be removed from the sentence, while non-restrictive clauses can be removed from the sentence. Now you may go ahead and take a quiz to learn more. Bye-bye!
Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video. And if you want to see more fun videos, you can hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram for more content. Bye-bye!